Today on the news and why it matters. South Carolina primary has come and gone. Is Joe Biden finally making a run for the 2020 presidential election? Also, the latest candidates to drop out. And there were several. We've got a lot coming up, and it starts right now. Happy Monday. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by the one and only Mr. Glenn Beck.
Hello.
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 We've also got Chad Prather, host of
right.
the Chad Prather Show. We're just going to make this a thing now, I think.
Chimney sweep. Chimney sweep. So you say, huh?
And, of course, the Blaze.com's own Aaron Colin.
Hi, guys. I got no accents.
You had to ruin it.
Nothing.
Ruin it.
Where's yours?
Hello.
Okay.
There you go. That's all you're getting from me. So South Carolina has come and gone. We can get into those results, but after those results, which of course Joe Biden won, took it away, which there was no surprise there. Bernie Sanders came in right underneath him. I know that's a little hard to see, but let's see. Bernie Sanders at almost 20%. Joe Biden took it away at 48.7%.
Polls were right. The late polls were right. There's one poll that had him up 28 points, which is exactly what it ended up to be. And the polls are moving again. Boy, people are so desperate to have anyone but Bernie Sanders, it seems. Last week it seemed like Bernie Sanders was on fire and sweeping the world. No, man, you give Joe Biden a chance just to go, okay, and they will vote for him.
Well, it's interesting because Bernie's support, even in South Carolina, I saw a poll that had him within, I think, 5 points, or Joe Biden was only 5 points ahead of everyone until the Cuba comments.
Yes, until the debate, and Bernie did so horribly with the what's truth is truth. Cuba's great. I was just swimming there last week, and you're like, okay, man, you are out of your mind, nuts. And then it all fell apart, and people went to Biden. And I thought Biden had an embarrassingly bad performance. When you'll take the guy who's like, is the answer shoe?
I'm running for the Senate.
Yeah, I mean, when you have that guy, and people are like, I'll take the senile one over the communist one. That's
well, they want
something.
the young man is what they want.
Yeah.
They want the 77-year-old. He's now the youngest man
right.
in the race.
In the race, he is the comeback kid, which they called Clinton, but he's like the comeback relic or the comeback antique.
Yeah, well,
Clinton was a kid.
You see a different sort of liberal in the Deep South, right? Yeah, they're not going to go for Bernie's shenanigans and antics and his economic ideas as much in South Carolina as they are in New England or even with the coastal elites. They're just not going to stomach that kind of deal. So the Biden thing doesn't surprise me. It's going to be interesting, though, when it starts getting a little bit broader on this thing. Mm-hmm. And let's face it, I mean, there are so many gaffes still to come out of the mouth of Joe Biden. I just, every day, there's going to be something different that's going to come out.
Well, that's the thing. When you have fewer candidates, now we're going to get more spotlight on Biden. It's going to give him more time to slip up. But I think they waited until, it really got to the point where it's like Bernie's really going to get this thing to where they said, okay, we've got to go with Biden. I think they tried to avoid that as long as they could.
I think Donald Trump was right this weekend when he said this really shows that they don't want Bernie Sanders. The Democrats are working. I mean, look. You didn't get the Republicans to do this. Remember, everyone was like, no, I still have 4 votes I could get, and nobody would drop out. And it just created a clear path for Donald Trump. Look at how, jawohl, mein Führer, we will drop out today. They're all doing it. Buttigieg. Why would Buttigieg drop out? I'm guessing a deal of some sort.
Sure.
Klobuchar, you're going all the way until you get to Minnesota in 12 hours and the one place you could win? Why would you drop out? I mean, it shows that they are doing everything they can to pave the path for Joe Biden.
Yeah, I mean,
Which
they're obviously...
Klobuchar has already come out and said she is going to endorse Joe Biden. as well.
Right.
I think Buttigieg is making if he does end up endorsing Biden, it's a real political bet he's making to go the moderate side versus the more progressive side, which is where I think we all kind of know that he is.
Yeah.
But he's kind of betting that down the road, politically, it'll be a good move for him to go with Biden versus Bernie. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And then, of course, Tom Steyer. I know everyone's like, who?
Who?
Yeah, Tom Steyer. He dropped out as well.
How did that guy ever make money? I mean, I'm bad with money.
Yeah.
This guy, look at what he's done.
He's such a nothing. Like it's like when you think Tom Steyer, like a certain image doesn't just come to your mind.
No,
You go, that guy stands out.
Nothing.
I mean, there's nothing. There's no
Who
icon.
comes to mind? Who comes to mind?
No,
I mean, you do remember that tie,
I don't
right?
mean who comes to mind with Tom Steyer. I mean,
Who? The word who?
Yeah.
comes to mind when you think Tom Steyer.
That's the thing. And I mean, $400 million or however much he spent. My gosh. I mean, I think that
What, one delegate?
Well, this whole thing, I think
one?
that there's a lot of folks like him and Mike Bloomberg who think that Donald Trump bought the presidency because he was a wealthy man, billionaire, whatever.
Didn't.
But he
He
didn't.
didn't spend
And that's
any money.
He didn't spend any money. And these guys thought they could just come in there. And if I were, say, Mike Bloomberg, after the way I'd been treated by this group of folks, and he said that when he is out, he's going to put his money behind whoever the person is. He thought he was going to buy some favor by saying that, but they decimated Bloomberg. I mean, they've decimated him. So all these guys, they are not doing what Trump did. Steyer certainly didn't.
And Trump was right this weekend in his CPAC speech. He said, you can't buy. They need to understand, you cannot buy the American election. You can get close, you can get your name around, but after a certain point, you got to deliver the goods.
You got to be able to hold people's
likable.
attention and
Yeah.
have some kind of personality or charisma, and those guys
He's
have
got
zero.
None.
No, not a bit.
Well, speaking of Bloomberg, he was speaking to parishioners at a black church in Selma, Alabama over the weekend. And
This is going to be good.
really awkward sight. Yeah, the parishioners, many of them, they just turned their backs to Bloomberg as he was talking. Watch.
Since the black family is being systematically robbed and exploited, Senator Press was the call to action, and that's what our Greenwood Initiative resolved to do. And we're going to do it by achieving three things. One, we're going to help 1 million more black families own a home. Two, we're going to double the number of black families.
So kind of mixed reactions in that room. Glenn, now, kind of disrespectful to do to anyone in a church, right? You could argue.
I mean, I just don't like politics in church being mixed myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, if we had politicians coming to my church and standing up behind the pulpit on Sunday when I'm supposed to be there worshiping God, I'd be like, get the hell out. Or I would leave. I wouldn't go. I mean, what? This is God's day.
Right.
I'm here to worship God. I'm trying to commune with Him, and you're jamming politics down my throat. Tuesday night, go ahead. Come to the church, use the church, invite members of the church, but they're probably standing because they disagree with him, they don't like him and everything else. I would be like, guys, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
You think a church that size, it looked like a relatively sort of small church, and there's a lot of family dynamics involved in that. And I assume there's a lot of conflict versus, the pastor or whatever incentives he got to invite Bloomberg there. And there's probably a small contingent or however many people that disagreed with it. And so they want to protest because they're so invested in that church that to just leave, like in a situation like that, it's such a part of your community. You don't just want to leave. You want to fight for what you believe in your church. And when you have somebody like Bloomberg coming in speaking on Sunday, I mean, that's, like you said, that's disrespectful, that's divisive, and it's something that you don't want in your religious body.
The issue was they couldn't see him. He was behind the podium. They were turned around looking for him. Maybe he's in the back of the room. We hear his voice. Where
Hey,
could
Mike.
he be?
How you doing, Mike?
Search and frisk, stop and frisk. Throw him against the wall. You know they got a weapon. If it's not on them, it's at their house. I mean, that's not going to go over so well. But I just think maybe they were looking for the guy,
They just were confused as to where he was.
It was amazing. I sat waiting to watch the president speak at CPAC. I sat right there. If I was the president, I was sitting right there in the front row. And I watched them put everything together for about 30 minutes before he spoke. They had to, hey, everybody, watch this documentary. And it's Secret Service. There was like at least 30 people putting his podium and stuff together. It was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And Kevlar, you saw signs that said CPAC next to it. No, those were bulletproof shields that they assembled with a erector set and wrenches so he could duck down in case anybody shot. It was amazing what all presidents have to live through now. But what was really funny is when they put the podium up, it comes out of its big flight case, beautiful case under like a velvet thing. It's all leather. It's beautiful. They put it into place, and then they're adjusting the teleprompters. There's a drawer at the bottom that pulls out, and it's a step stool because the guys who were doing it are not as tall as the president. All of those podiums are made for each president. He's the opposite of Michael Bloomberg. He's this giant that everybody else needs a step stool on his podium just to adjust everything on top and get it all right. It was pretty amazing.
Wow. Did you see the president speak at CPAC, Chad?
We were there. Yeah, we were there.
Did you watch?
Yeah.
You saw him?
Yeah.
Was that not a Netflix comedy special?
It's the comedy timing that Donald Trump has is absolutely impeccable. I mean, the guy just knows how to deliver a line. And that's the thing that so many people in the mainstream media and folks on the left don't understand, because they've become such a humorless culture that they're going to take it as policy when everybody that's sitting there in an electrified room and laughing understands this is a joke.
Belly laughing. That was the funniest comedy show I have seen in a long, long time. I mean, if he was on the left, he'd get an Emmy for each of these appearances on TV, because you're right. I never noticed how impeccable his timing is. Everything in comedy, and it's hard. He was flawless in comedy, but you don't get it if you're just watching it in clips. You don't really understand it. You don't understand the whole relationship. I've always hated his speeches, and I'm always like, stick to the prompter, stick to the prompter, stick to the prompter. That's why he has such loyal people, is he goes back to the prompter and he's like, and we did all these things, blah, 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 and blah, 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 and he's reading it almost like that, and we're doing all these wonderful things. And then you go, well, can I tell you something? You know what happened this week? It was almost like a rest period. But when he would start going back into the speeches, you'd all be like, okay, wow, this is incredible. You wouldn't even be listening to the speech part, and then he'd go back in. He trusts his crowd. He treats them like they're friends. I'm telling you the inside scoop. I know I'm president. It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy that I'm president, but I'm president. Let me tell you what happened. Then he does his little presidential thing, and then he's like, oh yeah, but let me tell you about Mini Mike. He's trusting them, and they are trusting him. And you become friends with him. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Live is totally, would you agree with this?
Oh, 100%.
Totally different.
Yeah.
You all of a sudden get it. You're like,
Yeah. Sarah and I are still joking about when we saw his speech in Florida back in December, because it's just a routine. I mean, it's hilarious, but you're right. That is what I'm trying to explain. Money doesn't buy that.
no.
Money doesn't buy that. I don't care how much you have or how much you spend. Money doesn't buy that sort of relationship.
There's no one except for Bernie, because Bernie's just flat out crazy, but he's got the same thing with his people. He doesn't express it. They're just assuming. They're just assuming, oh, I know what he's saying. I got it. Trump just says it, okay? And when he is standing there and he's speaking, it's almost as if you're the only people in the world I can trust. And it's true. You're my supporters. You stood in line to get here. I trust you guys. And I'm kind of taking a little poll. I want to know, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? He gauges the audience, and he stands and he watches them. How are you reacting about everything? So he's learning. He's doing his own polls. He's listening to them. He trusts them to be able to have protection for him. He'll say anything because he knows they're there for him. They get it. And the exact opposite. They know that Donald Trump is not the guy that's going to betray them and say one thing to their face and then go into the Oval and say, yeah, those people are stupid. It's this weird symbiotic relationship where you really begin to understand why people will walk through a wall of fire. He's the only guy that has ever spoke their language. treat them not like with respect, treat them as family, as friends. He's treating them. I felt like I was a friend sitting upstairs in the White House watching the debate with him and going, all right, don't tell anybody this because I know I'm the president, but is this not nuts? He says it, and nobody's ever done that before. He's beyond brilliant. I thought maybe 50% of it was brilliant, and the rest of them is just like, I'm not sure. His timing was so smart and so spot on. I think the guy's way underrated. Yeah. Way underrated.
Up next, support for Joe Biden after the South Carolina primary is on the rise. Also, the odds for the candidates that are still in the Democratic primary. But first, I want to talk to you about Candid clear aligners. I have been straightening my teeth with Candid clear aligners because I had braces and headgear and the whole 9 yards a long time ago. And who wants to wear their retainers after they get their teeth straightened? No one. You know what? That's a bad decision because your teeth shift when you get older and you end up with crooked teeth again.
Tell it to my kids.
I will, actually.
Well, I wish they'd get that.
Yes, it's so hard to learn. I had to learn the hard way. That may have happened to you as well. You got to check out Candid. Beyond delivering clear aligners directly to your door, to your home, they also include remote monitoring by your orthodontist throughout your treatment, so you can get the same treatment oversight that you would get by seeing a regular orthodontist in person, but you don't have to actually go into the doctor's office, sit in the waiting room, and you're getting it at 65% less than braces. You can remove them whenever you eat. They're totally invisible, and you can transform your smile without anyone noticing a thing. They do not use general dentists. Candid does not. They only use orthodontists. You are getting the experts in tooth movement. If you got a wedding, something coming up, a special event coming up this year, you have got to go to Candid. The average treatment length is only 6 months. You will start seeing results way before then. Trust me on this. It has worked beautifully for me. It can for you as well. You got to go to candidco.com/Y. That is candidco.com/Y. If you use code Y, you will get $75 off. And that's on top of that whole thing being 65% less than braces. It is a steal, you guys. Go to candidco.com/Y. Use promo code Y to get $75 off. Support for Joe Biden rises 7 points nationally after his South Carolina win. Let's see. Sanders received 29% support to Biden's 26% support, according to the latest national poll done by Morning Consult. But in a similar poll taken before the South Carolina primary, Sanders had received 32% support and Biden only had 19%. Obviously, Super Tuesday is coming up tomorrow. Really big day for Joe Biden.
I kind of wonder why his support would move so much. We knew he was going to win South Carolina, right? I mean,
Yes.
It's not a surprise. And
Right.
so the idea that people suddenly are like, wow, he's a winner now after, like, no, like, he is
No,
who
he's
he
still
was.
the same guy.
Yeah, he is who he was, and we're going to find that out as he goes on. But if he's got these candidates endorsing him now, and I think, Amy Klobuchar is coming to Dallas to campaign for him, it's going to push him forward. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but the narrative that they're trying to push that he has suddenly turned a corner and he's going to do something different now than the stumbling that he's done the whole time is kind of a joke.
Which you have to, it's got to be a combination of the timing of Bernie and what he's saying about, socialism and communist regimes, and Joe Biden winning South Carolina, all of that kind of coalescing at the same time, Chad?
Let me give you my philosophical and deep analysis. This is like trying to figure out which clown's about to get out of the car. I mean, really, it's like who's going to emerge on this thing? And at the end of the day, who really cares? Because there's a strategy on the part of Donald Trump. There has to be. Whoever's counseling him in terms of debates coming up. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and make the prediction. If I could go to Vegas and lay money on the odds here, I believe that first debate is going to be the most widely watched television program in the history of American television. I think it's going to break every record, whoever it is. So it really doesn't matter because there's a strategy.
Especially if it's Bernie and
Especially
Trump.
because those are two diametrically opposed ideals. Those philosophies can't be any further. Because here's the thing, we really have four parties right now if you look at this thing. We have Republicans, we have Democrats, and then we have the Trumps and the Sanders. All right, so there's, and I'm not doing that to say they're further out right or left, but it's really, because that's a group of people that don't make sense. They're not Democrats, and the folks that are truly MAGA people, they're not Republicans. They're really not. They could care less. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing comes together. I go back to Milwaukee on fire. I see it in flames prophetically. It's not going to be good. I think Klobuchar and Buttigieg are going to have to do a little mud wrestling thing to see who's going to get the vice presidential nod, because I think it's going to be either a gay man or a female. And, it's just unusual. I mean, 2 hours before he pulls out, he's talking about how the power he's got going into Super Tuesday, Buttigieg, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's out. So there's brokering going on. It's a weird little philosophy. I've never known Buttigieg to pull out early. I'm not going to go there with that joke.
You just did.
It's there.
You're already in town. You're sitting down.
Glenn,
You're building a building in the center of it. You're occupying space. Office people are moving in.
There's so much further I could go, Glenn.
Anyway, the
Let me tell you about the
support
caucuses again.
for Joe Biden coming at the time where, even over the weekend, he continues to make these gaffes. Now, this one that he made over the weekend, by itself, you could say, okay, he's had a long day, a long morning. It was up, he was up early. But put into context with all of the other things that crazy Joe Biden has said, this is just one of many. Here's Joe Biden calling Chris Wallace Chuck. For some unknown
reason. I can hardly wait to debate him on stage. I want people to see me standing next to him and him standing next to me. We'll see who's sleepy.
Mr. Vice President, thank you. Thanks for your time. Please come back in less than 13 years, sir.
All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
All right. It's Chris, but anyway.
Chris. I just did Chris. No, I just did Chuck. I tell you what, man, these are back to back. Anyway.
No, it's
I don't
okay.
know how you do it early in the morning, too.
Safe travels on the campaign trail. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Oh. We'll see who's sleepy, huh?
Yes, we'll see who's sleepy.
Let me tell you something, Horace.
Horace. That's a name, too, that was popular when he was young.
Yeah, back when he was a kid, Corn Pop, Horace, all the Esther Williams.
Glenn, I mean, like I said, if it's just that one, it's a single solitary gap, it's fine.
If you're like, look, it's early in the morning, it's Sunday morning, he probably just did Chuck Todd. And all of these things run one into another. You can kind of understand, but not something you say, especially after we'll see you sleepy.
We'll see who's
He
sleepy.
didn't catch the mistake either until Chris said something. He was just going to let it go. So
And you can see his brain, because
name
he's got
told
the
him.
handlers out there who are just like, Joe, you got to stop. And when he said it and he got corrected, you could hear him go, mother! Like you could see it in his eyes. He was just beating himself up. The poor guy.
It was the most awake he had been all morning.
Yeah. And he's young, 77. He's the youngest guy in the race.
So spry.
Easy.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Look, here's Bernie. Here's Bernie in 24. Look at this right
That's
here.
so funny.
There he is. That's him in 24.
Bernie 24.
That's what he's going to look like.
That is so funny. Where'd you get that?
Our friends at politiflops.com.
So
Yeah, they got fun stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Crazy.
So 538 has their forecasted predictions of who will win the Democratic nomination. Bernie, I just want to run through these numbers with you and get your thoughts on them. Bernie is now at 20.3%. Biden is at 14.6%. Bloomberg, 0.2%. Poor Bloomberg is at 0.2%.
What a waste.
Warren and Klobuchar are both at less than 0.1%, which Klobuchar obviously is not in the race anymore. But Warren, she's hanging on. She's still hanging on as of the time of this taping. Never know what kind of race.
forgot about her.
Why wouldn't everybody has? Why wouldn't she drop out if she's for Bernie Sanders? I think again, a deal.
She's waiting for that deal.
No, I think she's actually, there's a possibility she's staying in until Bernie says, hey, I'll make you your vice president. Or she's waiting for the Democrats to come to her and say, hey, you still have probably one more run in you. But I don't understand why she's still in, other than to
there's no justification for her to stay in now, but after Super Tuesday, when she finishes third, fourth, or wherever she ends up, I mean, how can she keep spending people's money like that? I mean, she's already been in debt. She's already run out of...
Women are really good at spending other people's money.
I can't say that because I'm not. Yeah, I would never say anything
I'm a
like
woman.
that.
I can say that.
Chad, you have to believe there is a lot of pressure on Warren to
Well,
get out of
100%.
this
And she
thing.
came out, I guess it was over the weekend, and she said, we've got enough that we can make it through all the way. We can run this thing all the way. But again, I go back to Buttigieg, who 2 hours before he drops out is talking about how he's going to go to Super Tuesday. It's all just rhetoric at this point. Yeah, she's got to be out of that thing. They've been doing all they can to get it down to 2 geriatric, senile white guys.
Old white men.
And so let's just go ahead and get it down to that
We've
point.
got women and minorities and gay people just dropping like flies just to get to these 75-plus-year-old white men.
They're so
really
well-
hilarious after
their view of America is so dynamic and new and young and vibrant.
That's true,
Joe
Wilfred.
Biden remembering the days of segregation when people got along, you know.
Back in a minute with more. But first, I want to talk to you about Bambi. So those of you small business owners know when you're running a business, HR issues can seriously just kill you. You've got like wrongful termination suits, minimum wage requirements, labor regulations. There are so many things to stay on top of and keep track of. And HR manager salaries, it's like an average of $70,000 a year. They're not cheap. So Bambi, it's spelled B-A-M-B-E-E, was created specifically for small businesses like yours. They give you a dedicated HR manager. They can craft your HR policy. They maintain your compliance, all for $99 a month. That's a steal, and it can keep you out of headaches and lawsuits and all sorts of stuff. Bambi can change your HR from your biggest liability to your biggest strength. Of course, the HR manager is available by phone, email, real-time chat. From onboarding to terminations, they can customize your policies and help you manage your employees day to day. Like I said, $99 a month. Month to month, no hidden fees. Cancel anytime you want, but you're not going to want to because Bambi is so valuable to your small business. Let Bambi help you get your free HR audit today. You can go to Bambi.com/matters right now. Schedule your free HR audit. Trust me, it's free and it's worth it. That is BAMBEE.com/matters. Bambi.com/matters. Before we move on from this topic, Chad, you mentioned earlier if this goes to a brokered convention, you really think Milwaukee is just going to go down in flames?
Said it over
Literally?
and over. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think potentially so. I think it's been said, it's been threatened, on the secret mic, secret cams, these kind of things. This is a different genre of people here who are for Bernie. I mean, this is a group of folks who, by God, after 2016, we're not letting this happen again. We've already seen how they've demonstrated it, and it's just not going to be a good thing. I've said over and over again, you talk about civil war, revolution, all these catchphrases we throw around talking about going at each other's throats. I've said it's not going to be between Democrats and Republicans. It's going to be the left versus the left. Mm-hmm. And House of Cards coming at itself. It's going to self-implode.
Glenn, you just did a special on this last week. Mm-hmm. Part of me is sometimes I watch these undercover videos, right, that were put out by Project Veritas, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty scary that these guys are talking like this. And then part of me is like, these guys aren't going to do anything.
Well, hello, Mama Hitler, who was like, my son, he's a nice boy.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not.
I just mean, do they really have the balls to go through with it?
Absolutely, they do. Absolutely. Now, how many of them are there?
Yeah.
Don't know. I think in our society there is probably 5% of people who just want to burn this down. They don't care. They'll burn it down. If Bernie can captivate people and get them to think that this is going to be a stretch, that the Democratic Party is unfair, slanted, stopping people from, living their dream, I think a lot of young people will go to Bernie Sanders and would stand on the street to fight the oppressor and, fight, though the Democrats have become fascists. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Something about socialists, they get violent.
Yeah, they're going to take their lead from him, and he hasn't shown any indication that he's willing to kind of temper that down. He's made it very clear that he's against Democrats just as much as he's against Republicans. And so if this goes wrong, he's just going to kind of let them do what they do. I don't see him coming out to say, hey, guys, stop. Let's all support Joe Biden. I don't see that coming.
Yeah. I saw it was supposed to be a big story on Twitter about Bernie Sanders and how it was just this big revelation that he had come out and said that he was anti-charity, that he preferred that the government be, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of been his whole policy platform thing for a while now. Is this supposed to be a shock to us?
And when they have that convention, I mean, it's amazing that Barack Obama is just deathly silent on the whole thing, right?
No, he's going to come out soon. No, he said, I'm not ready yet, but I would come out soon and support one of these candidates. Well, when? After the convention is over?
After it's all said and done.
Yeah.
I mean, the former president obviously is going to come speak at the convention. You know, I mean, how awkward is that if you haven't endorsed somebody leading up to that convention? So I don't understand. I mean, he says he's going to, but I don't know.
That's what I would do if I was him. Why insert yourself into the mess? You know?
Exactly right.
Do the safe
For his
thing
own
and
personal reputation and for just the stress of the situation, just wait till the winners and do that.
8 years of just being torn apart. Why not spend the rest of your life just being like, well, I don't want to get involved and just be that elder statesman that can rake in the money. Everybody loves you. Why would you get involved?
And I think I could be wrong, but I don't think he endorsed Hillary until after she had secured the nomination. I mean, we knew what side he was on, but I don't think he came out and said anything. Because again, why put yourself through that? What does he gain from that?
And plus, he's in the business of being a celebrity. He was a politician in order to become a celebrity, and you can't ruin your reputation by picking the wrong person. However, how would Hollywood look at you? And that matters to him.
Yeah, that's true. Moving on to the United States, they have signed a historic peace deal with the Taliban. Now, Mike Pompeo he's given kind of a cautious tone upon this agreement.
But we can't trust the Taliban?
I mean, I don't know what would give him that impression.
Right,
He said,
20 years of war.
Right. He said, we will closely watch the Taliban's compliance with their commitments and calibrate the pace of our withdrawal to their actions. This is how we will ensure that Afghanistan never again serves as a base for international terrorists. You don't buy it.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. And I did something at the end of the show. I think we tweeted it out, just specifically to the veterans. I mean, if you're a veteran, I don't know how you're dealing with this today. You didn't go over there to fight to do a peace deal with the Taliban. You know exactly who those people are, and you probably lost a lot of friends and went through a lot. The problem is that the job was reassigned. The job was go get them, and you did a great job. Then it became, let's build a nation. Let's help them see the light. No, it's not our job. You can free people and say, here, it's broken. Now, here's what we recommend, and we'll help you all the way if we can. Not with the use of our military, but here you go. Now what are you going to do with it? What do they do with it? What do they do with it? They've got the Taliban right back into the situation to where they were when we started this thing. It's time to go home. Yeah.
What struck me was just hearing this headline and thinking about how 19 years ago, how this would have sounded. Peace deal with the Taliban. You know, it just seems
crazy.
It seems insane to hear that. And you want the troops to come home. You want to be able to get out of this. But there's not a good way for it to just happen, I don't think. There's not a good way that's going to make us all feel good about it because of how much we've wasted and invested in this situation and the goal that we set out, that we said we want out of it. It's not going to happen that way. There's not just going to be a perfect utopia there and we leave and say, good job, we did it. And so it's going to be messy either way.
Yeah, Chad, the day after they announced this peace treaty, the Taliban actually announced it would resume offensive operations against Afghanistan government forces, and they've already struck them, and there's 3 dead and 11 injured.
Well, it's as Glenn said, now we're handing it back to them. That's what they're going to do with it. This is what they're going to do with it. I think we've learned the hard way. And I echo.
Have we though, really?
Well, the thing
the American people have. The American people, I think, have.
But
the government has not.
This war of ideologies is not going to be won in a conventional way. We've learned that. That's what we've been up against. It's not something you just go out and drop bombs on. It's going to continue to replenish as long as these people have babies and they grow up generation after generation. It's all it's been for thousands of years in that place. And I know that sounds cliche at this point, and I can't echo your sentiment strongly enough. You're right. What do you say to the serviceman and woman who's been over there, lost their friends, came back with PTS or any other injury that's going on, and they're still living with that battle in their brain? And what we did is said, oh, yeah, you did this to us, but there you go. Have at it. There's 19 years it's gone. And at what point in time does America go back to having clear and decisive victories when we go into military altercations? We don't do that anymore. It's like we're trying to play diplomatic war, and that's ridiculous.
No. Explain. I can't recommend this book highly enough. Written in 1962, called Tragedy and Hope. And it was written by a professor at Harvard. He was the guy who was the advisor to Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, then not for Johnson, then back for Nixon, and I think Ford. He was a guy who was there, helped build Brexit, or not Brexit, the monetary system that we have, Bretton Woods, and he said, we're building a world. The tragedy is 2 world wars. The hope is we've now tied each other together economically, so now no one can have a real victory and pound the other one into the sand because we all collapse. Mm-hmm. And so that's what's happening, is we to stop the Cold War, to stop being vaporized, we came up with a system. Well, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. As coronavirus is now showing us, just that little enemy of the world order is disrupting it. And, we'll all collapse together if that happens to get horrible. But that whole philosophy of mutually assured destruction was in some ways a success, and in other ways brought us to globalism and is a massive, massive failure.
Speaking of coronavirus, the death toll from coronavirus in Washington state rises to 6. More on that when we come back.
Wow.
Coronavirus has now killed 6 people in Washington state. And I believe that there's a total number of confirmed COVID-19 instances in Washington. It's 18, and 6 people have now died. That's a pretty high number of deaths.
So we don't know, because how many people have had it? There's only been 457 tests that have been done on Americans. We all might be carrying this right now. We all might
be asymptomatic.
But also be somebody who has already gone through it and it passed because our healthcare system is better here, and it didn't affect us. We don't know how many people are actually carrying it. I mean, this weekend it was like, this may already be here and be spread. Yeah, really, you think so? So it may already have been manifest throughout, but we only did 450 plus tests out of all of America. 450 tests. We haven't tested anybody. You're getting sick, you're going to the hospital, you got the flu. Well, it might be the coronavirus, and might have been 3 weeks ago. We just don't know it. And we're all going to get it. We're all going to get it. We're just not all going to die from it. But this is going to be around for a very, very long time.
And go ahead.
It's already been around for a long time. You pull out your antibacterial wipes, whether it's your Clorox or Lysol or whatever, it's right there on the list. It kills coronavirus. It's been around.
Well, it's a
different strain. I get that.
Yeah,
and
coronavirus has been around forever.
This is a different strain. There's no question about it. But at the end of the day, I'm sitting here thinking we could cure this right now if the media would shut up about it.
So can I tell you something on this? What's amazing is, they're saying that Donald Trump, oh my gosh, Donald Trump's not doing enough. I think it was the swine flu that came over here under Obama, had the swine flu. There were 1,000 Americans that had died in country before he released $1.5 billion. Trump just released $2.5 billion, and at the time, no one had died. And how is Trump getting it? He's not doing enough. 1,000 people versus 0 and $1 billion more. What do you want him to do?
Aaron, are you offended by his obvious racism?
A little bit, but we'll put that aside. We'll talk about that off the air. I don't want to put him out there like that. But
Wait.
I think
You're not allowed to criticize.
Don't worry about it,
Obama.
Glenn. We'll deal with your
that's my
racism.
president, Glenn. No.
Well, wait,
I think
We will judge it.
The concern is, I think things are maybe going to be a little bit worse than they have to be. It's nothing to panic about, but things are probably going to be a little bit worse than they have to be because the testing situation is so sketchy right now where people are going to the doctor and they can't even get a test if they want it. And because of that, there might be some more people that maybe get it or die that didn't have to necessarily, and I hope that they get that up to speed. It sounds like they are. But that's the concern I have right now is that people probably have it, and it's being misidentified because the CDC just is having trouble getting accurate, verifiable tests out to people.
Well, or, I mean, if you listen to the media and you listen to the panic that, they're trying to make everyone, follow, you may not think that you even have a chance of having coronavirus unless you are deathly ill, right? And you could, like Glenn said, you could either be asymptomatic or just have some sort of virus that you think you're just going to sleep in bed and sleep off and you don't go get tested.
There's a ton of misinformation about it. I mean, all indications are that this is a very treatable situation that most people can handle without any problem at all, and that people who are older or have other conditions, they might be threatened by it. But there's nothing to be scared about but the panic with the stock market and people clearing the shelves at the grocery stores. All that fuels a lot of strange behavior that's going to make this a bigger thing than it really needs to be.
Drink whiskey. Just drink whiskey. That's all you got to do. You just, a little bit every night kills everything. Kills everything, including your liver. Hey, my mother-in-law, she doesn't like Trump, and she's always made fun of my prepping and the food storage and stuff. But now recently she's been coming around going, do you have any of those masks I could borrow? Do you have enough food for me to eat? Nope, you can sit and watch me.
No, the Surgeon General said, stop buying the masks.
Yeah, and it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I sold those as a business in industrial sales years ago. That was my career. I was with I specialized in these masks and fit testing these masks in these places. You just put an N95 mask over your face. It might block what you have, but it's not protecting you from the stuff that's coming your way. It's just not. I mean, there's
a lot of people who are waiting in line in China that would be very upset to hear that.
There are. Trust me. Just go to the airport.
Jumping over each other to get
One last word.
I just love the Surgeon General who this weekend said, "Okay, can we stop with the masks?" I mean, it was almost that exact phrase. Okay, seriously, stop, America, stop.
Yeah.
Wash your damn hands every once in a while. All right, enough with the masks. Back in a minute.
2 minutes. Wash your hands.
It's a long time.
Which we teach our kindergartners. Friday's poll was which 2020 Democrat is the most fake? Elizabeth Warren ran away with this one. No surprise there. 64%. Pete Buttigieg, R.I.P. Pete Buttigieg, is second at 27%, followed by Joe Biden at 8% and Amy Klobuchar at 2%. Who would have thought that Friday, two of these people were still in the race, and today, just Monday, they're just gone right before our very eyes. So sad. Today's poll, who will benefit the most from Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg dropping out? Joe Biden. Well, Tom Steyer's not in this. Wow.
Because nobody's voting for Tom's like, I don't know. Who should I vote for?
Poor Tom Steyer has won his one voter. Yeah. Who will benefit the most from Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg dropping out? Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, or Mike Bloomberg?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's easy. They're both endorsing him. It's just more momentum for him.
Yeah, no question about that. Let us know what you think. Certainly not Elizabeth Warren, who I think all eyes are on her at this point. All the pressure is on her to, or get off the pot. Let us know what you think. You can go to The Blaze's Twitter. That is, of course, at The Blaze. Also, we've got Super Tuesday coverage coming up tomorrow. It's going to be from 8 to 11 Eastern. There will be some familiar faces on
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't?
No.
Oh, I heard you were going to be there.
I'm going to be there. I think you're going to be there. I think you're going to be there. Are you going to be
I
there?
haven't been invited, so
this
is awkward.
Wow.
No, what party? We don't have a
Glenn's racist. He's just trying to overcompensate.
I mean, it's pretty obvious now.
Well, of course you're invited her. Hey, get the black guy out of the building. Security.
I've got my black friend.
We all have the same one.
Tomorrow.
And nobody invited him to the party tomorrow.
Yeah, we're